Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, and dearest Baha'i friends and the friends of Baha'is. I deeply regret not being able to join you this evening as I had hoped, to honor and advocate for religious liberty and freedom of conscience for the Baha'is of Iran. As someone who is not an enrolled member of the Baha'is community, I stand with many others around the world in conveying our unified voice in support of the Baha'is in Iran and wish to speak out against the ongoing and deplorable actions of the Iranian government. All that I have ever read and understood about the Baha'i faith is that it stands for oneness, the inherent nobility of all human beings and the essential unity of all the peoples, races and religions on the earth. It is with a profound sense of shame to reflect that our once great Persia, our homeland Iran, the birthplace of the Baha'is faith, should allow its government, since the inception of the faith over 160 years ago, to continuously single out and subject to violent cruelty and gross injustice a faith community so profoundly connected to serving mankind, building unity in diversity, justice and compassion. In 1983, young Mona, the youngest of 9 Baha'i women from Shiraz, ages 16 to 70 years old, were imprisoned and hung in June of the same year for their belief in Baha'u'llah and his teaching. I share in Mona's belief, which she expressed to her executioner. I am a Jew. I am a Buddhist. I am a Christian. I am a Muslim. I am a Baha'i. I share with you now the words of Farkhunde, Mona's mother, as interpreted in a film script about Mona and the 22 Baha'is of Shiraz who were executed in 1983. Farkhunde's words, Mona's mother. I took a cab home. His blaring radio was saying that there were new protests far away in the streets of Tehran, and that we must go home in case the trouble spreads here. It seemed hard to believe that people actually thought that the trouble had not spread yet. The street vendors are closing down, and a few last-minute vendors are yelling and selling the last of their sweet goods and giving a few pieces to the children in the street. I watched the children, just like the ones Mona taught at the orphanage, sitting on the street corner, hungrily eating figs, pistachios, almonds, and honey. Once our apartment was in view, I decided to walk the last few blocks. I wandered past the town bazaar. The old men traders were drinking Turkish coffee in small groups, looking hopefully into each other's tiny drinking glasses, expecting the fate reveal itself. The air was still and everything was in its place. Everything except us. I heard a sound come from the living room. It was Yadi's voice. He smiled at me gently, and I watched him walk into the moon's light. Looking into his face, I wanted to grab both his arms and shake him, hoping he would look and see me. My eyes were weary, so I closed them and sank into the couch, into the darkness. His silhouette was etched black and white in my mind. I wanted to be worthy of him. I hung my head and closed my eyes and remembered how I could sense his arrival moments before the door would open and he would break the silence with his always jovial disposition. I skimmed my hands along the bookshelves and walls lined with photos. Pausing at each of the framed photographs, I tilted them straight. A picture of Yadi and Mona had pride of place. Another of Mona and Taraneh's plastic noses and mustaches. My favorite photograph shows Mona at the beach with her hair loose around her shoulders, standing in the water in her jean skirt. I reached out to touch her face, and my finger smudged the glass. My eyes ran over one of Mona's old diaries with her poetry. God holds the soul in his hands. He sees its glowing light, and he knows. He feels its warmth like a fire, and every land stands still, quiet before the universe as he stands in admiration of that soul who gives its light without thought of itself, only in adoration of the creator of all. I realized then that I didn't stand a chance. The thing is, she didn't learn that poem from me, nor her father. Her poem was wise beyond her years. I just didn't stand a chance. I know that now. I just wanted to cherish the moments that we'd had with this extraordinary girl. It had seemed a long time since I had savored such stillness. I just stood there in Mona's window, watching the birds and wondering why my bird is not free. I listened to the children, the mothers and fathers bustling home. I watched the stars fill the vast, darkening sky. I knew that they would never know our lives. A cool breeze breathed over me, carrying something sad and strained from the mountains, a promise of something unspoken. I was terrified that I would have been lost without them. I decided to bathe and clear my head. I cowered in the corner of the shower and knelt with my head on my knees. I prayed as the water fell over me. Then I crawled to bed and waited for sleep to come. Eventually, a peace came over me, and the next morning I felt my will return. Thank you and goodbye.